As a Seattle-based attorney who's personally handled a lot of domestic violence-related matters and runs a firm that handles a lot of them, I have some thoughts on roommate disputes and the label domestic violence that I think is relevant to anybody interested in the topic. Domestic violence, at least traditionally, to me, perhaps it's because of my age and my background, I think of domestic violence as violence perpetrated by a man on a woman that has to do with power and control and using financial abuse and physical abuse to achieve a dominant and controlling position over somebody else that sort of diminishes their authority and their power. That situation can be transferred into roommate situations, and perhaps that's why the label domestic violence also includes roommates or former roommates. That being said, that dynamic does not necessarily transfer over into roommate disputes. However, the court system will treat that situation as such up front in a number of ways because it gets the domestic violence label. For example, if you're in a roommate dispute, the mandatory arrest provisions of domestic violence apply, which means if there is a finding of somebody being the primary aggressor within the last 4 hours, the police will mandatorily have to arrest somebody. There are also mandatory provisions that require a judge to consider issuing a no contact order, and they often err on the side of caution and do, which means that potentially a roommate dispute will result in one roommate not being able to go back to the residence or be within a certain distance of the other person. With that in mind, it really becomes important to explore the concept of civil standbys, which we talk about in our website and I talk about in another video. Other provisions of domestic violence cases also apply to roommate disputes, whether it's appropriate or not. There's a longer period of time you have to wait to ask the court to remove it off your record if it's a domestic violence crime versus just a standard crime as it relates to gross misdemeanors, lower level crimes. And domestic violence crimes can affect people who want to or need to carry weapons as part of their career, firearms in particular, and ammunition. And obviously anybody in the healthcare industry, if there's this crime or assault on another person, it becomes a real issue if that's where their career direction is going, and that needs to be explored and considered. Something that people don't really know about is that there is a statute that allows you to break a residential lease if you're found to be the victim of domestic violence, either by a police report or, interestingly enough, if a professional will make a finding in writing with some other caveats and say that you're a victim. That statute is RCW 59.18.575. It's on the webpage associated with this topic, as well as you can type that in any web browser and read it yourself. Personally, I've used that statute to get somebody who was falsely charged as being a primary aggressor in a roommate situation, but was really sticking up for herself and needed to get out of a relationship that had gone wrong and was no longer healthy in a roommate status. And so I was able to get an independent third-party professional to write up an evaluation saying that helped in breaking the lease and also helped in her criminal matter. I hope this gives people an idea of what roommate disputes are, how the domestic violence statutes, at least criminally, can interact with it, and what you're looking for, what behavior they're looking for, and what kind of dynamics they're looking for in these sorts of relationships.